some of us, this world is not the best as we want it to be. We get frustrated and often lose perception of the greater good and the efforts made by individuals throughout history. The comfort we have today and the desire for a healthier tomorrow is made feasible through enthusiasm, endurance, and the sacrifices of caring people. Hurdles that come with time forbid people to see and acknowledge
the achievements of individuals with compassion.
As Zika shadows, the world ignores the triumph over Ebola. Today,
somewhere in the world, we forget that millions go to bed with hunger. And we also ignore the millions that have been rescued from starvation. Little do we treasure the professionals this world has made from hopeless times and places. When the refugee crisis conquers this world, we ignore the numerous of refugees that have been shielded with modern shelters. When dreams seem lifeless, we forget of all the ideas that continue to shape our world. And when governments scuffle over ideas, we omit the entire moment when the entire world came together to preserve the ozone layers. As we disregard these achievements, it goes without saying, there is no place for these people, living and dead, who have worked to make these achievements.
Two brothers inspired by the value of appreciation, Fredreck and Maxim Mulba, have dared to attract the attention of our world to one human value that is less spoken of and rarely practiced. It is called gratitude. Through a new organization called Stewardship International, they are up for their first global gratitude project. Join me, thank America. More than any other nation on this planet, America is present in every corner of our world, serving to save and enhance lives. From the Peace Corps to USAID, NDI, the U.S. military, and U.S. nonprofit organizations, from foundations such as IRC, Mercy Ships, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, the American Red Cross, Project Cure, Change Agent Network, the Carter Center, Clinton Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Goldman Sachs has been part of this tremendous effort enhancing lives, and the list is endless. These organizations have improved communities, provided health care, education, and lifted millions from poverty. They also ensure equity and shield minority groups, invigorate reform, and revive hope, both here in the United States and across the ocean. There's so much America has done and is doing that we are talking and hearing about in the news and other mediums. Fred and Maxim Mulba from northern Liberia, Lofa, spent part of their childhood in exile from the Republic of Guinea, and they still retain the suffering they had to endure to stay alive.
We fled to the Republic of Guinea as refugees before my 12th birthday in 1993. Life in Guinea was completely unbearable. We were kids, yet we had to labor on farms. We were using cutlasses and hoes, laboring just for our daily bread. It was a method of farming, primitive. That method of farming is still widely used across West Africa. Remember, the wages we got from this kind of labor was not always cash. We were paid in kind, mostly cup of rice. For those who have a working age, it was always 1 cup working for a day. Those of us who were kids, far below the regular working ages, it was always 2 or 3 persons working for 1 cup of rice a day, although we were the one always crying at the hands of hunger. Hunger is painful, especially when you have no idea when the next meal is going to be ready. In Guinea, things were extremely difficult. I remember traveling long distances with my brothers and sisters to cut firewood and to perform hard daily labors in exchange for food. We did this every single day for many years, as each day of hard labor was only enough to provide a single meal a day for my family. Despite all the struggles we experienced in Guinea, Guinea provided us a safe haven that we desperately needed. For me, it was more than just a safe haven. It was a place of hope. Because in refugee camps, I had the opportunity to go back to school through the tuition-free education that was provided to refugees. I returned to Liberia in 1997 after the general election. Less than 2 years after my return, another civil war erupted. This time around, I stayed in Liberia, but for the most part, we fled from one displaced center to another. However, I managed to stay in school when I could. Eventually, in 2004, I graduated from high school. And in the fall of 2006, I came to the United States by the way of the diversity immigrant visa.
The IRC school provided for us in Guinea. We always used to call it a free school. It is now that I realize that that school wasn't really free. Somebody was paying for it somehow. Let's put it this way. If you were hungry and a friend of yours decided to buy you a meal, the fact that you did not pay for that meal does not make it free. Similarly, somebody somewhere in the world sponsored all of the international organizations that were providing for us, including the IRC that sent us to school free.
Amidst all the affliction they had to live within neighboring Guinea, these two brothers recall that the Liberian and the Sierra Leone's refugees were not alone in their excursions.
There are many sad moments to recall from Guinea. I'm talking about real near-death experiences. But the government and people of Guinea were generally nice to us. In the first place, they allowed us in their country as refugees. If we had not fled to Guinea, the only option was to remain in our country, Liberia, to be killed, or be recruited as child soldiers to kill others or to help vandalize our country. For this, we are grateful to the Republic of Guinea.
All the gains that they had in their lives were made profitable through a 4-year education championed by people who didn't subjectively know them, but in many instances were from different nationalities, races, creed, and so on.
The journalists told our story. They told the world how politicians, conceived in greed and power drunkenness, had led our sweet land of liberty to total destruction, leaving the ordinary citizens, especially women and children, vulnerable. We have spread all across the sub-region: Guinea, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, and so on as refugees. This story reached the hearts of people all across the globe, especially America. America stood up for the cause of humanity.
After relative peace returned to Liberia, the two brothers returned home with their parents. Maxim went on to finish high school in 2004 from the Rock International Christian Academy, which was founded and largely supported by American missionaries. He played the diversified visa lottery and won that same year.
Without a high school diploma, I would not have been eligible to play the diversity immigrant visa lottery and might not have been here today. My life is better today because America prepared me and gave me the opportunity to pursue my dream. Today, I work in healthcare and I am pursuing a degree in computer information system at the Community College of Aurora. A few years ago, when we helped rescue a lady and her dog from the third floor of a burning building, the Denver Post and many people call me a hero. I am not a hero, nor an angel.
But the real hero and angels are the great people of this nation, American taxpayer, who did not know me, but helped sponsor my education when I was a refugee in Guinea. I am here today because of you. You are my true heroes and my angels. I couldn't wait to thank America.
Fredreck completed high school in 2003, and in 2009 finished his graduate study with a BSc in accounting. In June 2014, Fredreck graduated from Cuttington University Graduate School with his master's in business administration.
More than creed, religion, nationality, gender, and race, what today's world has in common is the generosity of America. The Peace Corps volunteers are brothers and sisters to every race of this world. The USA logo, for example, serves as hope for everyone who is in anguish. I was happy when I heard Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu address the United Nations General Assembly last month, September, and said, "America is the greatest and generous nation on the planet." I was excited about that because although the statement is a fact, it is not one of those we hear and say about America every day. And that raises a question in my mind, a real divine question. Where are the nine?
In addition to time, financial, and logistical resources, America has endured many losses while trying to put smiles on faces of the needy. 5 American nuns, Sister Barbara Matra, Sister Mary Joelle Colmer, Sister Agnes Mueller, Sister Shirley Colmer, and Sister Kathleen McGuire all lost their precious lives in October of 1992 while serving in the war-ravaged Liberia. U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens, who served in the Peace Corps, touched an innumerable amount of lives. Anita Oshkov-Tatar was a Peace Corps volunteer and a working aide, and she sadly lost her life in the Mali hotel bombing. According to CNN, her family says that she relished in helping others. When the Marine helicopter fell during the Nepali earthquake rescue mission, 6 U.S. servicemen were lost. There's a list of Americans, and their lives, and their stories, and their sacrifices for us should never be dilapidated. America didn't give them to die. They lost their lives saving ours. They are heroes, and they are here to make the world a better place for the human race. And they cannot be forgotten. So in times of despair, please join me and thank America.
Welcome back to the Gratitude Show. My name is Fredreck Morva. You were watching a highlight of our stories. Our meaning, me and my brother Maxim Morva, and of course you know my name is Fredreck Morva. That was just a highlight of our stories. How the American people, how they were involved with our lives from the days in refugee camp all the way back to Liberia and then to the United States. And I will be giving you more of my own story. Maxim, of course, on another edition will do his. So when we left the Republic of Guinea and came back to Liberia, we also saw the generosity of the American people. As per our own assessment right now, our meaning Stewardship International, since I got back to Liberia, we've done some assessments, we've done some investigation as to what the American government agencies, American profit and non-profit organizations, as well as private American citizens, what they're doing in Liberia. We've been able to cover some of their stories, we've been able to cover some of their projects. And so beginning with the Capitol building after the war, the Capitol building, by the way, is the seat of the Liberian National Legislature. The Capitol building was renovated, reconditioned by USAID, after the civil crisis. Of course, it was a building not really, it wasn't really fitting for the work of the Liberian National Legislature. Of course, the American people came into their embassy to the USA project. They were able to renovate the National Legislature, the seat of the National Legislature, which is the Capitol building. And from that building, any direction, any cardinal direction you take from that building, the statistics is that every 10 to 15 miles of drive from the Capitol building in Liberia, you will see a USA project, be it an agricultural project, be it a healthcare project, be it an educational project, being schools and all of that. The Americans are involved, with the growth and development of this country and its people. And that is one of our motivation. That's one of the places where we draw our energy from. America is by far the most generous nation in the world. America has championed the cause of humanity, fighting poverty, fighting diseases of all kinds. And that is it. Unless you're not a Liberian or unless you have not think harder, but the generosity of the American people edges into the lives of all Liberians. And that's exactly one of the reasons why the Stewardship International Project, which is the Join Me Thank America project by Stewardship International, chose Liberia as the first country from the United States, because of course we are founded in America and we did some gratitude work there in America, but we chose Liberia. Firstly, because we are Liberians, and aside from that, the generosity of the American people edges into all lives of Liberians, be it directly or indirectly. That's what it is. Another reason, personally, since I want to focus on my own personal story in this edition of the Gratitude Show, part of where I draw my energy from is in 2013, that was around October 2013, there was this U.S. government shutdown that occurred in America now. But for some of you who don't know what the shutdown is, it's a U.S. policy issue. It is a policy condition. For any reason, one or more, when the U.S. Congress fail or for some reason does not approve the budget of the United States until the budget year elapses, the fiscal year of the United States elapses. The technicality is that America as a country cannot spend money. That is a technicality. They cannot spend money. They cannot go ahead with their regular programs. Let me say it that way. So in 2013, that was during the presidency of President Barack Obama, the U.S. government ran into a shutdown. And by then, I was working as credit executive for one of the biggest courier companies that's operating here in Liberia. For some reason, I will keep their name. I don't want to expose them to anything. And that shutdown affected that company in a way that taught me a lesson. Because of the shutdown that lasted for anywhere around a little over 2 weeks. It started on the 1st of October and ended on the 16th of October the same year. And we as a company, by the way, my work was to collect all of the funds, all of the business, I had to collect on account. It's a little bit technical because I want for people to get the clear understanding of what that means. So businesses do credit both cash and they do business both on cash and credit. My work in that company was to bring in all of the money that was the money from the businesses that were done on account. So because of the shutdown, we couldn't really collect this money. Everywhere we went, most of the businesses that were doing business with us, who were somehow getting funding from the American government, could not pay us. The excuse was, oh, the U.S. government is in shutdown and there's no way we spend money directly from the U.S. budget, so we cannot pay you. It will take some time until maybe when the Congress approves the budget, when the American government starts to spend money, then we will pay you. So just in October of that year, 2013, and the 2 months that followed that shutdown, my company in Liberia was in red by anywhere around 15 to 20%, both vertically and horizontally. That is a little bit technical. So when we did our report for that month and the 2 months that followed, we couldn't just, we noticed that we were doing bad in terms of credit collection. So the U.S. government shut down in America. That's over 5,000 miles away from Monrovia, and we are feeling the shock here in, in Monrovia. And I started thinking, why is it that this company, that's just one company, one industry, one city, one country, in Africa. So I started thinking, if this can happen to this company that is just one of its kind right here, what about the general impact of the shutdown on the global economy? So I started having this feeling like, okay, so this is how significant the U.S. budget is to the world. A U.S. government shutdown could practically affect lives. Now imagine if that had continued for almost like a month or two. Literally, we're going to be in red, and probably the company will be probably forced to lay off people, or probably, they had to do some cash. They will be compelled to do some cash management, take some cash management decisions that will affect people of that company, and same to people all around the world. And I just sat down and said to myself, well, America is indeed a powerhouse of the world. America is a gift to the world. I mean, my own life is an example of that. My own life is of course an example of the generosity of the American people. Another thing that actually feel or gave us, especially me in person, gave me the kind of energy to go ahead with this Join Me Tech America project was my experience. I was in the United States in July of 2014 when Ebola started in Liberia, that happens to be my country. And coming from the United States, I transited through Brussels because first of all, there's no direct flight from America to Liberia, so you have to transit from one country to the other. You literally have to look for the best route to come. And most of those who travel, Brussels Airline being a huge part of travel to Liberia by air. I was on Brussels Airline, and we had to transit through Brussels Airport in Belgium. And the aircraft that brought me to Liberia was an A330 aircraft, capable of carrying anywhere around 350 to 400 passengers. We were less than 25 people on our aircraft coming to Liberia via Freetown. And that was unprecedented because an aircraft capable of carrying 400 people had less than 25 people on board. And many of them were in fact aid workers, medical aid workers with MSF and other international medical relief organizations. And so on that aircraft, I kept thinking, why is this so? Why is it an empty aircraft is going to West Africa? Then I quickly remember that, maybe it is because of the Ebola crisis. Nobody wants to go to the region. Everybody was virtually avoiding this region, especially Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. So I got to Liberia, and after 1 month, I had to also go back to the States. Now the same aircraft, Airbus A330 aircraft, was choked to capacity. There was virtually no seat left on the aircraft. It was filled to the very limit. And I started asking myself, I just came to Liberia 1 month ago on an empty aircraft, and I'm leaving Liberia, going back to the United States via Brussels, and the aircraft is filled. There's about no seat left. And I quickly got reminded, okay, that's because everyone who was able was leaving the country. And it was a little sad. I was a little emotional, to see that that was the reality. But my producer is on my back. We have to take break, and by the time we take break, we come back. I will continue with this SM Brussels episode that actually kind of still plays on my mind. I mean, it's stuck with me, which is of course one of the very reasons why this Join Me Think America project is so important. America is by far the most generous nation in the world, and of course, America is a gift to the world. Meet me on the other side of the break, and we will continue this Brussels story. My name is Fredreck. Sit tight. I'll be right back.
The Gratitude Show.
Welcome back to the Gratitude Show. My name is Fredreck Morva. The Gratitude Show, of course, is a part of the Join Me Thank America project, and the Join Me Thank America project is a stewardship international initiative. You've been listening to my story. It started with, of course, a story of me and my brother, the one together with me. We founded the organization Stewardship International, and I was explaining about I was explaining my story about my experience on SN Brussels, both coming to Liberia and going back before we went on our break. And I want to continue that story because that's some of where we get our it's part of the places where we take our motivation for this project. So that was on, by the way, it was October 31, 2000, and actually August 31, 2014. On that flight back to the United States was Liberia's defense minister. His name is Honorable Bernice Samukai. Mr. Samukai was on that flight, and I kept asking myself. And by the way, at that time, the president of Liberia, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, for Excellency, issued an executive order. She was stopping all government officials from traveling to the United States because of the Ebola crisis. So when I saw the defense minister on board, I was like, oh, why is the defense minister traveling? Is he an exempt or what? And I kept thinking about that until we got to Brussels. When we got to Brussels again, I attempted to speak with him, but just about that time, I had to speak to a relative who was talking to me online. So he slipped past me, and later on, while boarding on the United flight to Washington, he passed me again. Of course, he was in business class, so they had to board first. So he walked past me. So I didn't get to talk to him on the plane until we got to Washington, at the airport, while I was transiting to go to, of course, my resident state, Denver, he stopped in Washington. So 2 weeks later, my curiosity, was satisfied. My curiosity, I got the answer to my questions when the U.S. president, the then president of the United States, President Barack Obama, announced the American government was sending 3,000 military personnel on the West African coast to help with the Ebola crisis. Then I got an idea of why the defense minister was traveling to the United States. To the United States because, of course, there were military personnel coming to the region, so it couldn't be a health minister. It had to be a defense minister to conclude the arrangements. Hopefully, we will get the Liberian defense minister to, have his own view or his own input on the Gratitude Show based on his experience around that time. So yes,
I started thinking again, like as usual. Sometimes America does, some real life-saving initiative. America engaged with some life-saving projects that will kind of bemoans you, that will kind of, um, leave you wondering, why is the country so generous? Imagine, I told you on the other side before the break that I was coming to a country where nobody wanted to come to because of the crisis. Going back to the United States, everybody was leaving Liberia. Everyone who was able was leaving the country. But America was sending their sons and daughters. They were sending their husbands and wives in harm's way to help curb the Ebola situation. So again, I was so astonished about that. I was thrown at sea, by that experience. So I started asking myself, what kind of country is America? What manner of generosity, do these people really, show to the world? Every time when there's some epidemics or epidemic somewhere, every time there's a crisis somewhere, like when the Malaysian plane fell, just vanished from the skies. America was one of the first countries in the world to commit, their technology, their men, to go on that mission. You remember 2010 as well, when the 33 miners were trapped in the Chilean mine in Chile. It also took the combination of an American miner and a cutting-edge mining technology. It was a combination of American miner and a cutting-edge American mining technology, to unearth these 33 men. An operation the world had not seen, but America and American technology, were able to let the world to see a state of the art, but a rather mind-boggling, operation that became successful. Up to now, when I think about it, I just ask myself, what would have become of these people if America and that American miner had not gotten involved? And it's just an amazing thing. Every time America engages into some of these things, it just throws me, wandering all over. And that's some of the spirit. That's some of the energy, that is behind the Join Me Tank America project. When I went to school as a kid and even up to graduate level, the motivation, the key things that kept me in school was it was always the hope that education will give me good life, and I will create a good family. First of all, I will get a good job, create a good family, care for it. I probably will own one of the best houses. I would drive some of the best cars. That was the idea, the energy, the motivation behind my going to school all along. I went to the United States and I saw that a little bit different. American people, I saw many American people thinking differently from what I was thinking. From their motivation was kind of different from my own motivation of education. For example, an American will go through the rigor of education in America, and they will go through grade school, high school, and they graduate from high school, go to college, graduate from college. The next day they will pick up their backpack, and they headed for some of the most remote places in the world. Either as a Peace Corps volunteer or maybe as a somebody as a volunteer with other U.S.-based organizations. They will come out of the IRC, the International Rescue Committee, the American Red Cross, for example. Now, most time it leaves me kind of looking down on myself. The motivation for me to go to school was to better myself. But a lot of Americans go to school to impact the world, to serve others. And when I look at the two sides of it, when I look at my side of it and the American side of it, many times I just judge myself and kind of look down on myself, like I did what I had to do for a selfish reason when other people can be selfless. That's it for the American people. Many of them they're so compassionate, they're so loving, they can do some really, really amazing things, for the world. a continuation of my story, um, I went to the United States just about the time um, I was explaining on the Brussels experience. I got to the States, I was there just around Ebola. The American government again announced a temporary protective status for citizens from Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, who were residing in America, or let's say who were visiting in America. So technically, TPS is that in effect, it's like you don't have to go home to Liberia, you don't have to go home to Sierra Leone, you don't have to go home to Guinea, because we understand that it's a pandemic going on there. But you can stay here, since you're here visiting in the U.S. You can stay here, you can work, you can live like a normal person. Of course, it has a time limit, but they're telling you, hey, you can live here, you can work here, you can live as normal, like any American, you know. And I also took advantage of that, because while I had gone to the U.S., I couldn't complete that because of, again, the Ebola situation. So I took advantage of the TPS. So when my TPS was granted, when my temporary protective status was granted, and I started again asking myself, by the way, America is the only country that I know. I stand to be corrected on that one, but America is the only country I know in the world that declared a temporary protective status for the countries, for citizens of the countries that was affected by Ebola to stay in that country and live and work. I don't know any other country, that did that. But yes, American did it. So I started asking myself, the generosity of the American people abounds in my life, from 11-year-old when I was a refugee in the Republic of Guinea, all the way to 33 when I went to the United States and benefited from the temporary protective status. So I just started asking myself, what can I do? This story has to be told. America has helped this world in so many ways. America has done some really life-saving, has conducted some life-saving initiatives around the world. But where are our voices in response for the generosity of the American people? Where are our stories, that this generation and all other generations, can hear that there is a country called America, or there was a country called America, who did so much for the cause of humanity. But my search in America for this ground or for this stage, I didn't find one. The option was do a TV or maybe do a video or probably appear on one of these local TV stations in America and tell a story. Yes, but the people who listen could get that, but then it wouldn't be sustained. And then another thing I started telling myself was, I'm not the only person America has helped. So I can go on to tell my story, but what about the millions, billions of people all across the world, in India, in Pakistan, in Liberia, in South Africa, in Ghana, in Bangladesh, in Kenya? There are just so many people around the world who have benefited from America, who probably feeling the same way that I was feeling. They are conceived with gratitude for America, but nowhere to say it. And that's how we came with the idea of Stewardship International, and our first project, of course, is the Join Me, Thank America project. And there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of experiences that, are driving this project. But trust me, every time I talk about the generosity of America, every time I talk about what America has done in my life, I want to do this more and more. We're just going to go back and take a break, and then when we come back, I'll just roll you through some of, quickly through some of the experiences, those things that happened in my life, the combination of the things that happened in my life, that I actually driving this whole project, Join Me Thank America project with Stewardship International. Again, my name is Moaba, and I present a gratitude show both on radio and TV. And just sit tight. When we come back, we will conclude on what led to the founding of Stewardship International, and how we chose the Join Me Thank America project as our first global gratitude project. Sit tight. I will be ready.
The Gratitude Show.
Welcome back to the Gratitude Show. My name is Fredreck. The Gratitude Show is a part of the Join Me Thank America project, and the Join Me Thank America project is a Stewardship International initiative. Um, you know, the generosity of America, like I've always said, um, if you've not seen it before, or if you have not come to realize what America has done for you, um, just think again. It will be somewhere. It's right there. Just think some more. You will see where the good, the compassion, the love of the American people. You will see how it touches your life, either directly or indirectly. And like for us as Stewardship International, we always say America is a gift, to the world. So in the States, my brother and I started working on this project, or this concept, the concept of creating a platform, doing something so that this generation and all other generations to come can see and acknowledge the job that America has done all through the world. And so we came with the concept of organizing a nonprofit organization, which we call Stewardship International. It's a gratitude-based nonprofit. The only thing we do with Stewardship International, the only thing we engage with all across this world is gratitude. And our first project is called Join Me Thank America. So it is a platform, it is a stage that is provided for people all across the world to be able to tell their story, of how America has helped better their lives. Some of these stories are so critical, some of them are so compelling, that since we started, I've heard stories of people, that breaks me apart. Sometimes it gets emotional. Sometimes I can't even hold my own tears about how America has intervened in lives. America has intervened in situations that would have that have already gone by. And you see, like the USAID logo. If you look at the USAID logo carefully, there's a phrase that comes with it. Like I said earlier in a short video, that phrase from the American people is always on my heart. So when we thank America through the Gratitude Show, through the Stewardship International, when we thank America, we are appreciating all of the servicemen, American servicemen around the world who provided security in one way or the other. We are thanking the American taxpayers, those who work so hard, to put money into the American budget envelope. Of course, some of these dollars, ends up in our societies, all across the world to better mankind. And when I was in the United States and I was working and paying taxes, that's one thing that I really felt good about. Every time I was paid and I realized that I was paying taxes to the American government, I felt good because I was so sure that some of the taxes that I paid, some of of course, the funds that are generated from American taxpayers, go towards humanitarian initiatives around the world in the form of USAID, supporting the YALI, the young men, the Young African Leadership Initiative, the Peace Corps, and all of that. It's an amazing experience every time I focus on the generosity of, the American people. The price of what America gives to this world, the generosity, their gifts, their services. The price of it is not only money. Yes, money is huge in it, but it takes Americans pain. It takes them sweat. It takes them skills. It takes them time. It takes pain, blood. And sometimes it takes lives, American lives, to reach out to the world in the way that they do. In my country, Liberia, in 1992, that's 25 years ago, 5 American Catholic nuns were slain. They were killed by rebel forces, Liberian rebel forces. Now imagine these Catholic nuns left the comfort of America and flew over over to my country, Liberia, to help. Some of them were teachers, some of them were health workers, and they were helping in all sorts of ways. But some of us Liberians, sadly, regrettably, some of us killed these women 25 years ago. And I mean, every time I talk about this story, it gets so emotional. I feel so terrible that people could be that wicked. You know, people could be that cruel to people who came to help you, people who came to serve you. You know, the comfort of America abound. I mean, America is convenient in so many ways, far more than Liberia. You know, and for these people to leave their comfort and come to a remote country like Liberia, you know, to serve us, I mean, it's just, to say the least, it's just terrible and mind-boggling to think that, I mean, to realize that they could be killed, you know, by some Liberians. That's so sad, you know. And I was talking about what it takes, you know, the Peace Corps volunteers, for example, they leave the convenience of America and they come to places like Liberia and go all around the world to serve humanity. Some of these places that the Peace Corps volunteers reach to serve, some of those places don't even have motorways, they don't have roads, you know. Some of these volunteers have to walk, you know, cover miles to get to their service location. Some of these places to work, there's no electricity, needless to talk about internet. There's no Starbucks. They don't get to see the Broncos play, you know. They fly away. Some of them will only return, you know, to probably see their parents dead, or maybe people, their loved ones, you know, will pass before they can get to the States and stuff like that. It's an amazing, amazing sacrifice that this world does not really talk about or hear about in a way that, in a proportionally, you know, in a way that America, you know, sacrificed. And that's what Stewardship International is all about. Here in Liberia, for example, in Monrovia, there are people who left counties like other counties and came to Monrovia. They have education, they're capable, they can go back to help their own remote communities. They renege on that. Many of them would not even agree to go back to their own communities where they come from to go and serve them, even if to teach or to do, you know, some community services. You know, everyone wants to stay in Monrovia. The little convenience that Liberia has to offer in Monrovia, everyone wants to benefit from that. People will not even want to go home to even help their local communities. But Americans will leave America and come to Monrovia, you know, jump over Monrovia and go to some of the remote places. That's humanity, that's compassion, that's love, that's sacrifice. And it is this kind of stories of sacrifice and compassion and love that Stewardship International is involved with. And like my brother always say, we thank God first for our lives, but right after that, we thank the American people for almost everything we have. Like my brother Maxine, probably you will hear from him at some point as he tells the rest of his story. It's an amazing, amazing story to just to know that there are people in this world, you know, who cared about you in a rather incredible way. And it's just, every time I talk about the generosity of America, I want to talk more. You know, the lives that America lost to save humanity, I mean, it will never come back. You know, but they do this. They keep doing it, and again and again and again. You know, where are our voices? Where are our stories in return for the generosity of the American people? But also, just before I close, one of the things that we focus on also on the Join Me Thank America project is the sacrifices that Americans made. You know, if we don't offer this microphone, if we don't offer this platform for these people to say their stories, you will never know what the Peace Corps volunteers go through to teach in our schools or to work in our hospitals around the world. You will never tell what the American donor go through. There are a lot of people in America who will literally share their lunch, you know, with the rest of the world, you know. And unless we go to, you know, these people and sit with them and hear their stories and get their motivation, and unless we can learn from the compassion of these people, we cannot change this world. And it's an amazing thing if we can copy after these generous Americans who want to see, this world change. That's what Stewardship International is about. That's what we do. And I, Fredreck Morba, I feel so passionate about this project. And the only thing I can say to you as I close, this is our project. This is our platform. This is our campaign. Those of us who are the beneficiaries, those of us who are recipients of the generosity of America, this is our platform. And it's open to every race, it's open to every nation, it's open to all people. Come, on a gratitude show and tell your story. Let America hear you. Unless we do these things, America will not hear our story. The traditional diplomacy provides for heads of states and governments to go to Washington, sit with the U.S. president, whoever is president of America, sit with them and tell your gratitude stories. That's traditional diplomacy. But that does not stand anymore in the way of we sharing our own stories, the president of my country cannot tell my story. And I'm very sure the president of your country cannot tell your story. No project manager or institution head, chief or party can tell my story. My story is unique. I have to tell it myself. And that's where the owning of our stories come in. We have to own our stories. We have to tell them so that this generation can hear about the goodness of America, the love that America shares, in this world. But also not just this generation, but all other generations to come, And it is our project, so we also want to need your view. Contact us. Log on to www.stewardshipinternational.org and send us an email. But also, if you want your story to be heard just on this platform, please don't hesitate, to send us an email, or you can just we're on Facebook. Stewardship International is our handle on Facebook. You can log on there and send us a message, and we can reach out to you. Whatever part of the world you are, we are ready, and we are coming to you to collect your story and to present it for the hearing of the world. Thank you for joining this segment, and it was amazing. I wish I had more time to tell you more about the idea, that forms Stewardship International and the Join Me Thank America project. Thank you. Thanks for watching. My name is Fredreck Morba. I am, of course, the Executive Director of Stewardship International. I'm also your lead gratitude campaigner. It was amazing to be with you, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
The Gratitude Show.